My name is Monica, and I was an alcoholic. I didn't know that I was an alcoholic when I was drinking. I just thought I was drinking to have a good time, just socializing, what they call social drinking, drinking to unwind. Um, it never dawned on me that I had a problem for years. And it wasn't until recently that I stepped back from myself and realized that I, in fact, had a problem, that I was drinking way too much, and that most of the time when I drank, I wasn't a nice person. I said some mean things to people. Most of the time when I drank so much that I didn't even know how much I was consuming. I would go to the store and I would buy a bottle, and I would most likely get a fifth. And I would sit there, and before the night was over, more than half of that bottle would be gone. It was bad. And I noticed when I would get something smaller than that, I would want to make my way back to the liquor store to buy more because that wasn't enough. Once I drank, even though I was trying to suppress what was going on with me and going on inside of me, I realized that that just flared it up. The moment my mind went back to a memory or a thought, I would find myself in tears. I would find myself reliving those moments over and over again in my head. I would find myself in a deep state of depression. I would find myself hurt beyond words. And I didn't really understand why. Because, see, my mission for drinking clearly was to escape. Was to escape everything that I was going to, was to escape the pain, to escape the past, to not think about it. But in fact, drinking intensified it. And even though I went through those spirals, I still continued to drink. It's like at some point, like my body became dependent on it. And I was what they called a functioning alcoholic, you know, as well as a blind one. And I say blind because I did not know that I was this way. I did not know that I was an alcoholic. I had no idea what was going on inside of me. No idea whatsoever. And it was a sad affair. It was a sad affair. I would get up, I would go to work, I would come home, I would cook, I would clean. But when I would get off, like my first stop, if I didn't already have something at home, was to go and get a bottle, whether it be wine or liquor, right? And I would drink and I would consume these alcoholic beverages almost on a daily basis. Almost on a daily basis. And I wasn't really, I didn't, in myself, I didn't feel sad. But my reality now, looking back, I was sad. I was sad. I was hurt. I was lonely. I was a damaged woman. And to escape my reality of that, I believe that's why I drank so much. But drinking only added to my problems. It took away finances that I did not have. You know? It took away my sense of peace that I was trying to find, that I would never find in that bottle. But I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. It took away the love for myself. You know, it took away from my features and my body and everything. It just took away from me because, you know, after several years and excessive use of alcohol and drugs, it weighs on you physically. It weighs on you physically. And even if people didn't see it, I would wake up and look at myself in the mirror, and some days I would look different to me because it was playing on me. It distorts your vision. It distorts your mind. It distorts all logic. You can't be rational. You can't rationalize. You know what I mean. There's none of that when you're under the influence. And see, people, you know, we have this tendency to say that one thing is better than the next, or one thing is worse than the next. All of it is the same. Anything that you do in excess is an addition. 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 Anything. People that use drugs. A person, depending on the drug that you use, a person will say, because you use this drug, that's worse than the drug that I use. No, all of it is the same, and it will have the same effect on you after a long period of time. Our mental suffers greatly when we abuse drugs and alcohol. We lessen ourselves, and we will never reach our full potential, because I believe by my own experience that there is no person that controls addiction. Addiction controls you. And no matter how you look at it, no matter how you try to twist and turn it to make it fit and sound right, it controls you. And it always will control you. You have no control over it. Because if we had control over it, we would not fall into it. There would not be an excessive use of drugs nor alcohol, because we know the damaging effects of both. Some people believe that they are fighting a losing battle when it comes to drugs and alcohol and their addiction. You are not. You are not. There have been many that have fought and won that battle. I myself am one that has fought and won the battle. First, you have to make up in your mind that your dependency of these substances is causing you to be a loser in your life. You have to see that, understand that, and accept that. It is causing you to be the loser in your life. It doesn't matter what things you have, how you gain them, all of that, your worldly possessions, none of that. Addiction takes from you. You will never win as an addict. And I'm also going to say, even when it comes to sex and gambling, even when it comes to that. You never win as an addict. Never. You will forever be a loser until you decide to take control of your life, to take back what is yours, and to move beyond that state of dependency on whatever it is, drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, all of those things, and any that I have not named. Addiction only has one face. It has many features, but one face. It is important that you make the conscious decision that you don't want to be a loser anymore. That you want to win at this thing called life. Because what happens is addiction will cost you everything. Everything. And it may be a gradual process of loss, but in the end, you will suffer a great loss if you do not take control of your life. Take back what is yours. You have the strength. You have the power. We fall victim. We are enslaved to these substances. Enslaved to substances. And we have to break the chains. We have to cut the rope. We have to let go. We have to get loose and get far, far away from those things that keep us down, that keep us stagnated. Addiction is great. And there are great minds that work hard to keep us in the state of addiction. This is why you can find a liquor store within a 5-block radius, liquor stores or a convenience store that sells some type of alcoholic beverage. In the communities that I live in, that you can relate to. It is not by accident that this is. Those spirits in that bottle, in that can, in that person, in those cards, in those dice, those spirits are evil spirits. And those evil spirits seek to destroy you and everything attached to you. See, your addiction is not just about you. You are not the only one that suffers when you're in that state. Your family suffer. Your children, your spouse, your parents, your siblings, your family, your friends. Yes. They are affected by your alcoholism, your drug addiction, your sex addiction, your gambling addiction. They are affected by it as well. It does not just affect you. We have to make it in our mind that we want to be better, that we want a better life, and that we're going to do everything possible to have a better life. It is very important that we do that. We are powerful beings, but we submit our will to things less than. We just give it up and give it over, most times without a fight. Addiction comes with power and force. And you're going to have to fight it with power and force, and you're going to have to be persistent in your fight. But it can be beaten. it can be. You have to make it in your mind that you don't want to suffer from this anymore, that you want to be free, that you do not want to be in bondage anymore. And every time those thoughts come upon you, which they will, you have to be smart. Be smart and think. Stay away from those people, those places, and those things that will trigger you, that will have you thinking about taking the next drink, that will tempt you, so on and so forth. Get in tune with your higher power, connect to something greater than you. Build with people, sponsorships, positive people who are not indulging in those type of things. So when you're having an urge or whatever, you can reach out and someone can talk you off that ledge, so to speak, so that you will not jump back into your old ways and those habits of addiction. It is very, very important. I will not say that I am beyond it, but I am over it. And I am still moving. This is a continuous process. It will forever be. And in your imperfections, you might slip and you might fall. But don't let that be the reason to stay down. Get up and start moving again. It is very important that we understand that we are limited by those things that we limit ourselves to. So think outside of yourself. Think outside of your norm. Think outside of what you've been doing for however many years you've been doing it. And understand that you deserve something better. And that change starts within you. And that as soon as you start taking the steps towards change and bettering yourself, everything that's negative will start taking steps to move backwards, to move from you. But you have to keep on moving and never look back at it. Because as long as you continuously look back at it, what you're in fact doing is calling forward. We have to be strong. We have to be courageous. We have to be smart about this thing called life. And not allow it to get us so beaten down that we in turn begin to beat ourselves down. Addiction is just another way of beating yourself down. Because you don't want to deal, you don't want to cope, where you have all the skills. You have everything that it takes. You just have to reach inside of yourself and apply those things that you know you need to apply. We know when we have these problems that they are becoming problems. How do you deal with the problem? Find a solution. Implement change. And do not allow it to come and penetrate you. Do not allow it to have any power over you. Do not allow it to dictate to you. Your life, you are the dictator. Addiction is ugly. And it will destroy everything in its path if you let it. If you let it. And though you may find yourself climbing that ladder of success today, even in your state of addiction, understand that it only takes one false move and you'll look up and find yourself looking up while you're laying at the bottom of everything that you've built. Trying to figure out how you got there and how you can get yourself back to where you need to be. Trying to get yourself back to grace. You can. You can, in fact, beat addiction. You can do it. What is it that's keeping you in that state? What has happened? Think about the moment that you decided, because we do make a conscious decision at some point that we're going to do this. We don't realize that we're doing it, but we do. I know for me, I didn't want to deal with the pains of my past. So, when I started drinking, I started making it a habit of drinking until I didn't feel that anymore. And then after a certain amount of time, I didn't even realize that I was continuously falling into that pattern. And I was getting worse and worse and falling deeper and deeper into that bottle that didn't yield me any benefit. What causes you? What caused you to use drugs? What was your trigger? What was your breaking point? Address that. Why do you gamble? What does it bring to you? What kind of thrill or adrenaline rush do you get from that? What is it? What are you looking for that you have to drown yourself in people and continuously share yourself with individuals just to feel? What happened in life that you feel like you're lacking that personal touch and emotion of love that you have to share yourself with others to feel? We have to figure out what's going on inside of us, how we can address it. And while addressing that, unknowingly we will be addressing so many other issues. We will be figuring out so many things about ourselves. And we will gain a better understanding as to why we do the things we do. And with the understanding of why, you have a clear path to reversing your patterns. To go back and start doing things differently. To rid yourself of addiction. To make yourself better, to build yourself stronger. Something has caused us to fall into this state. And we have to figure out what that something is or was and address it. As painful as it may be, as painful as it may have been, we have to revisit those things. Because that's the only way we're going to find healing. We have to get down to the root of our issues, the source of our problems. And we have to, while doing that, reach for the only one that can help us. And while we're reaching to him, he's going to in turn put people around us that can help us, that can hold our hands at some point and move us and walk us through this thing called life when it gets too hard, or when we feel like it's getting to that point. We have to trust in the process, trust in self. Start looking at ourselves and loving ourselves again and understanding how great we are and how worthy we are of living a life beyond addiction. You do not have to stay where you are. We have choices. We have the power. And we need to exercise our free will and move towards our own healing. To open the door to our better days. We have to walk into the light and allow everything that we do for our light, that divine light to shine on it, and just keep moving through it. And not look back to our dark days, because they will only keep us in darkness. The more we reflect on them, the more we revisit them, addiction can be beat. And you can beat whatever has caused you to fall into that state of addiction. Now is the time to do soul searching, to figure out what's going on inside of you that causes you to fall so dependent to substances. Address it. Address it, get help, do whatever you need to do to come to peace with it. Because you cannot change your past. But you can find a common ground of peace and just say that this is what it is. I can't change it. I accept it for what it is. And I want to reclaim my life and live better in it as of this moment. Do not allow things that you cannot change, your past or any issues, to take over you so much so that you can't find an escape. And the only escape that you do find is that one which will not bring you any benefit, will only keep you even more in hostage, in bondage, in a hostage situation, and that's addiction. That's that alcoholism, that drug addiction, the sex addiction, the gambling addiction, any addiction, anything that you do excessively. We can come out of this. We can come out of this because we've come out of so many things. It starts here. Envision a better life for yourself. Start walking in that. Hold on to your faith, and if you don't have it, you better find it. You better find it, because you will in fact need it. You cannot and will not be able to do this thing on your own. But you can do it. Don't be misled. And do not allow addiction to control your life any longer. I am MJK. This is Wisdom on the Go. Together, we are transforming lives, replenishing souls, and healing hearts. You, me, us, we. That's what we are doing together. This is a collective effort, one and another. Healing hearts, replenishing souls, and transforming lives. Please, do not stay in your state of addiction. You can and will defeat it. Believe me and believe in you. MJK.